There is a truth that few have the courage to face. Most people are not failing because of a lack of talent, money, or opportunity. They are failing because they carry thoughts that silently sabotage every attempt at growth. These ideas don't scream, they whisper. But these whispers are so constant that they eventually become beliefs. And it is these beliefs that keep you in the same place year after year, even when everything inside you screams for change. This is exactly what the story of a young man named Ravi is about. Ravi was determined. He always had big dreams. He studied, made lists, and came up with plans. But when the time came to act, something inexplicable happened. He froze. A nameless fear took hold. Instead of moving forward, he procrastinated. Instead of trying, he rethought. And so, time passed, and the dreams that were once so vivid began to fade. Tired of living in this cycle, Ravi decided to seek help. He went to a master known for helping people break through mental blocks. When he arrived, he told his story without hiding anything. I can't move forward. Whenever I try to start something, my mind makes up excuses. It tells me I'm not ready yet, that maybe I'll fail, that people won't accept me. I feel trapped inside myself. The master listened attentively. Then he offered a calm smile and said, "What's stopping you aren't the obstacles. It's the ideas you've accepted as truth. You don't need more preparation. You need to clear your mind of the lies that are holding you back." And then he began to reveal the 5 main ideas that must be eliminated from the mind of anyone who wants to achieve something meaningful. Line number 1, people will judge me. The master was blunt. The need to be accepted is a prison. As long as you need the approval of others to act, you will live hostage to fear. Ravi lowered his eyes. That hit him hard. You may have an incredible plan, the master continued. But if before you start, you think about what others will say, you will sabotage yourself. He pointed to a branch on the ground and said, "Imagine that this branch represents your dream. Now imagine that before you pick it up, you look around waiting for applause. If no one applauds, you give up. That's what many people do. What they don't realize is that applause only comes after courage, not before." The master then offered a new perspective. What others think is their problem. What you do with your life is your responsibility. You don't need to be understood. You need to be true to yourself. If you have ever failed to act for fear of being judged, write in the comments, "No more caring about other people's opinions." This could be the beginning of a new attitude. Line number 2, I can't fail. The master picked up a stone from the ground and said, "This stone represents the fear of making mistakes. Those who carry this in their pockets also carry the weight of not trying." He explained that the fear of failure is the greatest thief of experience. It not only prevents mistakes, it prevents growth, evolution, and progress. No one grows in a straight line. Mistakes are steps. Success is the result. But if you don't allow yourself to stumble, you'll never learn to run. Ravi then asked, "But how can we stop fearing failure?" The master replied, "Failure is just a sign that you are moving. Standing still is the greatest failure disguised as security. You will only truly lose if you give up trying." He concluded, "Every failure is a teacher in disguise. Learn from it and keep going." If this truth makes sense to you right here, I am no longer afraid of failure. Leave that fear here and move on lighter. Line number 3, it's not the right time. The master turned to Ravi and said, "How many times have you used that phrase to justify your inaction?" Ravi hesitated and then replied, "More times than I can count." The master nodded and then said, "The right time is a myth. What exists is the time when you decide to act. While you wait for everything to be perfect, life goes on. The world doesn't stop to wait for you to feel ready." He explained, "Real movement begins with a choice. A decision to act even when you're afraid, even when you have doubts, even when you don't have everything. And he gave a simple example. Look at a farmer. He doesn't wait for the perfect weather. He plants in the best conditions he has. And he trusts the process. You need to plan your projects. It doesn't matter if everything isn't ideal yet. The seed needs to go into the ground. Comment il? I choose to start now. It's not just a phrase. It's a pact with your courage. The master then watched Ravi closely. It was clear that something was changing. The truth, when spoken clearly, has that power. It doesn't shout, but it transforms. And perhaps, like Ravi, you too are trapped by phrases that sound true, but are just disguises for fear. Have you ever said, "I can't fail," or thought, "What will others think?" Or do you keep putting things off, saying that now is not the time? Then know this, you are not alone. But you could be one of the few who decide to break out of this cycle now. Like this video if this message spoke to you. And share it with someone who's waiting for a sign. Maybe this is the message they need to hear. In the next teachings, the master will reveal the other two lies that need to be ripped from the mind, and how they destroy the authenticity, productivity, and freedom of those who have not yet recognized them. Get ready, because recognizing the truth is only the beginning. True success happens when you decide to live by it. Ravi stood motionless, digesting every word the master had shared. These ideas weren't just advice. They were truths that seemed to have been ripped straight from the root of his fears. He looked up at the sky as if recognizing how long he had been trapped without visible chains. But before he could say anything, the master spoke again. You have already understood 3 lies that imprison you. The fear of judgment, the fear of making mistakes, and waiting for the perfect moment. But there is more, and what comes next imprisons not only your actions, but also your identity. Ravi sat up straight. He was ready to hear more. The master looked him in the eyes and said firmly, "The 4th lie is, everything has to be perfect before you start." Ravi swallowed hard. It hit him like an arrow. I always believed that I should only launch my projects when everything was flawless. I thought that if it wasn't perfect, it would be better not to even try. And that is the mistake many make, interrupted the master. Perfection is a disguise for fear. It is an acceptable excuse for not taking action. But still, it is only an excuse. He then picked up a stick and scratched the ground. Look around you. No mountain is symmetrical. No tree is exactly like another. Everything that grows with flaws. Nature does not wait for perfection to exist. It just moves. How can we overcome the prison of perfection? The master suggested 3 clear attitudes. Start by knowing that you will improve with time. Your first step doesn't have to be brilliant. It just has to happen. All mastery comes from practice, not waiting. Value progress, not perfection. If you take 1 step a day, even if it's small, you'll be way ahead of those who wait for years. Remember that people connect with authenticity, not flawlessness. The world doesn't need more edited images. It needs real people with the courage to show what's behind the scenes. Ravi reflected silently. He realized that he often held himself back by demanding something of himself that no one else demanded. He was being harder on himself than anyone else around him. If you've also stopped because you think it's not good enough yet, write here in the comments. I choose to move forward, even without perfection. Declare this to yourself. That's how the movement begins. The master took a deep breath, and then he said, there is one last lie. The most subtle of all, the one that silently destroys people's authenticity, and that prevents many from finding their true place in the world. Ravi listened intently. He had already identified all the previous fears within himself, but he still couldn't imagine what this 5th prison could be. The master then said, the 5th lie is, thinking differently is wrong. Ravi frowned. What do you mean? From an early age, we are taught that the right thing to do is to fit in, to go with the flow, to repeat patterns. Questioning the norm is considered dangerous. Thinking for yourself is almost a social sin, and over time, most people begin to stifle their inner voice. They begin to hide their true thoughts so as not to be rejected. But the price for this is the loss of one's identity. The master stood up and pointed to a rock that was off the dirt path. Look at that rock. Alone, out of place off the trail. Many would look at it and say it's in the wrong place. But maybe it's exactly what was needed to inspire a new path. Those who create new possibilities are always misunderstood at first, but they are the ones who make a difference. Ravi lowered his head. How many ideas had he abandoned just because they were too strange? How many projects had never even been started because they deviated from what others considered normal? The master then looked at him firmly and said, "If your thinking doesn't fit the pattern, maybe it's not strange. Maybe it's exactly what the world needs to hear." How can you free yourself from the fear of thinking differently? Accept that being authentic takes courage. It's easier to hide in the crowd, but it is more powerful to stand up for what is true. Value your unique vision. What seems strange today may be brilliant tomorrow. Every innovation started as an unconventional thought. Trust yourself even when no one else does. Your inner confidence is all you really need to keep going. If you feel like you've hidden your ideas to be accepted, write in the comments, "I trust my way of thinking." This is a silent cry for freedom. The master approached Ravi, who was now visibly more awake. And then, with the serenity of someone who has seen hundreds of people wake up, he said, "Now you know the 5 lies that were holding you back. And more than that, you already have the tools to dismantle them." Ravi took a deep breath. It was as if a weight that had been there for years was beginning to dissolve. The master concluded, "Success is not about doing everything right. Success is seeing clearly, acting truthfully, and following through with courage. And if you still have doubts, remember, you don't need anyone's permission to try. You don't have to be perfect to start. You don't have to fit in to be amazing. What you need is to move." Recap of the 5 lies that sabotage your life. People will judge me. I can't fail. It's not the right time. Everything has to be perfect. Thinking differently is wrong. These lies keep you stuck in the same place, even if you're eager to move forward. And when you choose to see them, you begin to dissolve what has been holding you back for so long. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you is already changing. Like this video if you feel like what you heard is true. Share it with someone who needs the courage to start over. And subscribe to continue receiving these messages that activate what is strongest within you. In the next few moments, Ravi will make a decision, and you will realize that sometimes all we need is a new way of thinking. Ravi walked in silence, accompanied only by the serene presence of his master and the sound of the wind rustling through the leaves. He had already heard things that changed his way of thinking, but now, something deeper was happening. It was no longer conversation. It was a change. The master watched him closely. He had seen that look before. The look of someone who finally realized they no longer had to wait, that they were free from their own chains. And all that was missing was the first step. "Ravi," said the master, "now that you have recognized these 5 lies, I want to show you what happens to those who decide to continue living with them, and what happens to those who choose to leave them behind." Ravi nodded. He was ready to listen. 1. Those who live trapped by what others think live only half a life. The master approached a tree and pointed to its pruned branches. This tree could have grown much taller, but it was pruned to fit the shape they wanted it to be. That's how those who are guided by the opinions of others live. Every time you avoid following your path for fear of judgment, you are accepting to live less than you could. You are accepting to be what they expect you to be and not what you were born to be. Ravi felt the impact. He remembered all the times he had suppressed ideas, silenced his desires, and refused invitations from life, just to maintain an image that others would approve of. The master then said, "The world already has too many people trying to appear. It needs people willing to be. Right here in the comments. Starting today, I choose to be true. This is the beginning of a life without masks. 2. Those who are afraid of making mistakes never get far. The master walked to a small stream and pointed to the stones. Look, all these stones were shaped by water. But for that to happen, there was wear and tear. The path was not smooth, but it was true. The journey of those who achieve something is similar. It is not straight, it is not clean, but is alive. He looked at Ravi and asked, would you rather never try and live in peace, or try and live with purpose? The answer was in Ravi's eyes. He already knew. Never trying was, in fact, a crueler kind of failure. Mistakes, Ravi, do not define you. What defines you is what you do after them. If this resonated with you, write down, failure is part of life, but giving up is not. This phrase can become your anchor on difficult days. 3. Those who wait for the perfect moment miss real opportunities. The master then sat down on the floor and said, people lose more by waiting than by taking action. Most people don't fail because they did something wrong, but because they put it off for too long. Time doesn't come back, and dreams don't wait. If you don't live them, they're out inside you. Ravi felt a lump in his throat. How many projects had he let slip by, just waiting for a better moment that never came? If you want to really live, stop waiting. Start now. Really afraid. Really doubtful. Comment ir? I'm not waiting any longer. I'm taking action today. This is a vow to take action, a sign that the time for paralysis is over. For those who demand perfection before they start, never start. The master then took a handful of dirt and spread it between his fingers. Do you see this? This is what life flourishes with. It's not with absolute control. It's not with perfection. It's with living, raw, real imperfection. He then said, as long as you believe you need to be flawless to act, you will remain stuck. Because perfection is unattainable and action is unpostponable. Ravi sighed. He realized that he was using the pursuit of perfection as an excuse not to expose himself. And now that sounded small in the face of the greatness of the life he could live. What you need, Ravi, is the courage to start crooked and finish giant. Como no? Better done than idealized. That is the mantra of those who build, of those who do. 5. Those who believe that thinking differently is wrong extinguish their own light. The master stood up, looked deeply at Ravi, and said, you have been molded to fit into shapes that do not belong to you. But your greatness lies precisely in thinking outside the box. Those who make history are always those who dare to disagree. And that's why thinking differently isn't a mistake. It's a blessing. He put his hand on Ravi's shoulder and said, if your ideas don't fit, it's not you who's wrong. Maybe the world is ready for something new, and that something is in you. Ravi held back his tears. That sentence freed him. For the first time, he felt comfortable within himself. Write in the comments, I choose to trust my unique mind. That is an act of courage. And courage is the first step toward freedom, the moment of choice. The master then stepped away. He gave Ravi space to digest everything. He gave no further answers, because now it was no longer time to listen. It was time to decide. Ravi stood there for minutes, maybe hours, reflecting, feeling, reviewing every part of his story, every lie he believed, every truth he ignored, until finally he stood up. He said nothing. There was no need. His eyes now carried determination. His body exuded decision. The change was not in words. It was in his posture, in his presence, in his energy. And the master, with a discreet smile, said only, now you are ready, not because you know everything, but because you understand that you no longer need to wait to begin. Final summary, the 5 lies that keep you stuck and how to break them. People will judge me. The truth, live your truth. You are the one who needs to approve, not others. I can't make mistakes. The truth, every mistake is a step forward. Every fall reveals new ground. It's not the right time. The truth, the moment is what you make it right now. It has to be perfect. The truth, perfect is a myth. Real is what transforms. Thinking differently is wrong. The truth, thinking differently is what makes the world evolve. And now, the decision is yours. Will you continue to believe these lies? Or will you choose the truth that sets you free? If this video made sense to you, sparkles like it. Sparkles share it with someone who needs this truth. Sparkles and subscribe so you don't miss the next wake-up messages. And right here in the comments, I choose to set myself free. This simple gesture could be the first step toward a new life. Because in the end, what separates those who dream from those who achieve is not luck or talent. It is the willingness to remove what blocks you and the courage to keep going even without guarantees.